Hi guys, it's Kelly here, and I am back with another video. Today's video is, well, it was filmed a while ago, but nonetheless, we're using the Merry Rocking Horse, the fancy snow globe die, and I think it's the Snowfall stencil. I'll double check. Either way, it'll be linked below. And we are going to be making a card that includes a lot of mixed media. Now, if mixed media is not your thing, don't run away quite yet. I think that there is a very large misconception. And I'm going to be honest, I was guilty of it for a long time. I was like, mixed media is not my thing. I like clean and simple. I like really just clean outlines and bright colors, and like mixed media, probably not for me. But I realized that I was missing out on a lot of really, really cool products that can do a lot of really, really cool things, and that I could adapt those things to my more clean and simple style. So that's what we're doing today. Here you can see we are doing some ink blending. I'm using my blender brushes, and I'm just creating a background. You guys have seen me do this 1,000,000 times. I'm leaving the center lighter because that will create a natural highlight for my focal point, which is that adorable little rocking horse. And I just picked blues because I wanted that to be the background for my snow falling. Like, I wanted it to make sense, even though it's not a scene. Sometimes you just can't help yourself. So I wanted you to see the start of each one, but then I sped it up because we got a lot going on in this card. Like, we just do. So I know a lot of like mixed media artists that I'm a really big fan of their stuff, and I really like the things that they create. But I know that it's not for me, and I know that I would not enjoy the process of it. But there were so many things that I was missing out on, like that I could adapt to, like pastes, for example. Like, there's a lot of mixed media artists out there who do like art journals. That's not for me. That do a lot of layering and gel press. Also not for me. Like, not that those things aren't pretty, they just aren't for me, and I know that. I don't enjoy it. And like, I think it's super cool to watch, especially like their lives and stuff, to watch those things come together. But for me, like the pastes, this is something that's really cool. Now, you could do this with a stamp and embossing powder as well, but the texture is totally different with a paste. So once my background's done, I'm going to tape my stencil in place. And then Hero Arts has a bunch of different pastes. Normally I use the sparkle one because I love the glitter. And I was like, do I use the sparkle or no? And I decided ultimately to go with the white so that it would actually look like some snow falling inside my snow globe. And it's super opaque, like you cannot see through it. So it gives this really cool raised texture, but then it also, you can't see through it. It's not translucent, though they do have translucent gels out there. I don't necessarily know that I own any. I'm a pretty neutral colored paste or glitter, all the glitters. So once I have that down, you do want to make sure that you're cleaning off your palette knife and cleaning off your stencil right away. But like, look at how cool this is. Like, this totally looks like snow falling down on this background. And even though I put down a relatively thick layer, it dried pretty quickly. So here I have some, I think it's called Woodland cardstock, and I'm going to use the Snow Globe Fancy die to cut this out of. This Snow Globe, all the fancy dies, let's be honest. Okay, so with Hero Arts, all the fancy dies, they're called fancy dies because they have all this detail. And in my head, I was like, how am I going to get this detail to show up so that you can see how cool this die is? And normally I would try to like Copa color it and stuff like this, but this was so much easier. So Hero Wax is another mixed media, and it dries hard. It's not going to come off of your card. And I'm just using a little bit, and a little bit goes a long way. Like, I haven't even really tapped into like the base of the product. I've only ever just used what's on the lid. And I'm just applying it with my finger. I'm, just smushing it along, and it makes all of these details in this die pop out. And so the dark brown, the woodland color, looks like the inside of the details. You know how like when you have like old gold items, like the gold on the outside or on the inside is still shiny, and then the outside is got the darker color. It gives kind of like that same look and really highlights all of those super cool details in the die. And that's all I had to do was put on the wax, and then it was done. It like took no time at all. So I wanted my snow globe to have a window. You could definitely turn this into a shaker card. I am not going to cut this with the die because I want the window to be intact. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take a pen. This is the pen that I use for my outlining. These ones are discontinued, but you can use like a Copic multiliner or a Micron. And I'm just going to outline the die on my acetate. And then I'm going to go in with my scissors and just trim it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to go behind the die, and so all those edges will be hidden. But I'm fussy cutting it the way that I would fussy cut anything else. I hold my scissors in my right hand because I am right-handed, and then I turn the paper, or in this case the acetate, with my left hand, and that will give me a relatively smooth cut. I probably didn't need to cut out the entire thing since the only portion of the window that you're going to see is the top, but I felt like it would fit better. In order to get rid of that black outline, I'm going to use, this is the Hero Arts Ultra Clean. It's a stamp cleaner. And I'm just going to put that on a baby wipe and go around the edges. It cleaned it up with no issues. It didn't leave any streaks or anything on my acetate. And now it's perfectly clear so that when I put my snow globe in place, you'll be able to see through it. And then the recipient will still have this cool snow globe look because the glass, like, well, it's plastic acetate, but it'll still look like it has that glass look that they'll be able to see through. So I'm using my Hero Arts Precision Glue, and I am just going to adhere this down to the acetate so that way I'm not having to chase it all over my desk or possibly lose it because it is clear. So didn't want to risk any of that. So I'm just going to glue that down. So that way I can lay it over my pieces parts. Now, if I wanted it to be a shaker, I probably would have cut 2 of these. Would I? No, I guess you could probably just adhere it to the card back. So yeah, if you want it to be a shaker, you don't necessarily need to cut 2 of them. But no, do you? No, you don't. So I did notice that there were a couple of pieces where my trimming or my glue got, so I just went in there and cleaned that up with a baby wipe. And again, I didn't have any issues. And now I'm going to move on to the stamping. I am using our Intense Black ink. This is safe for Copic markers or any kind of alcohol markers because that's the coloring that I'm going to be doing. You may have noticed how long ago I filmed this video because it was before my craft room clean out, and it was before I bought my glass mat. Like this is back in the grid pad and media mat days. But that's okay. I still thought it was worth sharing, and I actually honestly hadn't even realized that I hadn't shared it yet. So here we are. Speaking of the glass mat, I did want to mention, because several of you have asked me about it, today is the last day for the 25% off. So I will link that below. It's 25% off site-wide, so it's not just their craft mats, it's their magnets, it's anything else that they sell. And that is the last day for that 25%. Starting back tomorrow, then the 20% that I normally have off from Glassboard Studios will still be available to all of you always. But if you are interested, or like that was something that you meant to get or you wanted for a Christmas gift, tell your significant other, like, hey, today's the last day for 25%, so get on it. Get on it, buddy. Speaking of Christmas gifts, so I've been giving, my husband always yells at me. I don't know if you guys are Christmas list people or not. I think we've probably talked about this in the past. I like surprises, so I don't like to give a Christmas list. But he refused to give me a Christmas list when I asked him until I gave him a few items. And so somebody had asked me recently in a comment if I had tried the distress watercolor pencils. I have not, but they are on my Christmas list. That is one of the things that I gave to my husband, and I did advise him who had them in stock and where they were on sale over this past weekend, where like all the crafty stores were having sales, so that he could pick those up if he wanted to. I don't really have too much on my crafty wish list. Um, like about, capitalizing on I mean, there's always things that like new stamp sets and things like that. But as far as mediums, there isn't too much on my list that I was interested in picking up, except for those watercolor pencils. I am very intrigued by them, and I'm interested to see how they work. Let's go back to the card real quick. So, because I do like when my card is a little bit more cohesive, it means I typically use less colors. Um, so for my little rocking horse here, I did color him, his mane, and the rockers, using all the same color browns, but I switched it up. So for his body, I used an E53, a 55, and a 57. For his mane, I'm going to use a 55, a 57, and a 59. So they're all still in the same family. So they're not going to be competing with each other, or what is the word I want? I keep thinking contradicting each other, but that's not it. Like, they're not going to clash with each other is what I'm trying to say. Wow, that was a long walk to get there, guys. But they will be complementary to each other and still give me enough of a difference that you'll be able to tell that his mane is darker than the rest of his body. And then for the rockers, I again use the same 55, 57, 59, but I added more shadows to the rocker in the back because he would have, like, that area would have more shadows if you were looking at it head on, because the body would be blocking some of the light getting to those back rockers, whereas this front rocker doesn't have that. The body isn't in the way of the light getting to this rocker. So Christmas lists. I'm not really a huge fan of doing them. I try to give some ideas out to, like, my mom or Eric's mom. Eric's mom has a brilliant philosophy, which I think I told you about on my birthday. She always wants the gift that, like, you want but you would never buy yourself. And so hers are usually pretty easy for me to come up with, because I'm like, what am I interested in but I would never spend money on myself? And then I tell her. So like for my birthday, she got me my shampoo that I like. So this time around, I'm not really sure what Eric chose to share with her. I gave him kind of a handful of items that I was interested in, though I don't think honestly he knew what most of it was, because it was like heatless curlers. I struggle, since working from home, kind of getting myself in a headspace to get ready every day, because when I wake up in the morning, I'm immediately getting the kids ready. Like, I have to pick between getting myself ready and sleep. And so the obvious choice is always sleep. Like, I'm not going to pretend like it's not. For me, I'm going to sleep, because there are nights where, I'm up 2 or 3 times in the middle of the night because Miss Caitlin needs, some sort of care. Or there's other nights where maybe we get to bed late because there's, something else going on. So I always choose sleep. I always choose sleep, which means when I come home, if I want to get ready, I have to take that out of my work day. And so for most of the time, I'm not willing to do that. So I was looking for some things, like I've been on the look for a long time, for a kind of like a curly hair solution. My hair is naturally curly, quite a bit, like a lot of curly. And so I've been trying to find a good way that I can do it and let it air dry, or I can do it and then sleep on it, so that I'm not having to spend a bunch of time doing it. Because a lot of these curly hair routines, which come up with beautiful results, like just gorgeous results, they require you to stand there with a diffuser for 25 minutes. And I am not doing that. Like, even for those results, I'm not doing it. So anyway, so I've been trying to come up with those. So those were a lot of the things that I gave him, some other, products that I wanted to try to see if I can kind of find a routine that I can maintain outside of just getting up, brushing my teeth, and taking my kids to where they need to go in my robe. I'm still going to do that. Like, I have no shame. Eric tells me all the time, like, someday Nathan will be old enough to be embarrassed by me. And that may be true, but I will still not care. Like, I don't. This is me. So it always makes me laugh when I see those videos, like the reels or, whatever that people put out, and they're like, oh, dropping my kids off in school, and like they have all their makeup on and their hair done, and maybe they're on their way to work, and that would make sense to me. But if I'm just coming back home, no. No, sir, no, ma'am. I'm not doing all that to drop my kids off. Can't do it. Cannot. Um, but there is a part of me that misses that feeling of like getting myself ready for the day. And so that is why I'm trying to find something that I feel like I can maintain during this season of life. I also need to get my hair done. I have a lot more sparkle in my hair than I used to because I am getting older. And so the last two times I got my hair done, they did like an all over root color. And this time around, it is not it's not a good match to my natural hair color. And so it's pretty obvious where my roots are growing in. So I do need to go get my hair done. I desperately need a pedicure, and I'd love a massage. So those are some other things that I will be putting out, to my family members as things that maybe I would enjoy for Christmas. And really for like my husband, like I don't need him to like book me a pedicure. What I do need him to be like, hey, I will be home on such and such a date, so you can go get your hair done, go, do your pedicure, go whatever, like just because our schedules are crazy. Here, I just wanted to note, I showed you the yellow combination, but I didn't show me coloring those two bows because it was the same process as the other bows that you watched. I'm using a white gel pen to add some ornaments to the tree, just to make that a little bit more visually interesting. And then I did outline my image. Again, you can use a Copic multiliner or a Micron pen. Those will work just as well as these. I cut out my little rocking horse with its companion die, and then we're going to start building our scene. So for the inside of my snow globe, I just drew on white cardstock, just like a little hill with a pencil. And so I am trimming that out, and then I will trim that to match the shape of the snow globe. You can see there, I didn't need it to come all the way down. I just needed enough to adhere it. So here's what I've got going on so far. And some of you are going to be like, what you're about to do is crazy. But I'm not crazy. I have a plan. I have a plan. So first things first, I'm going to add some glue to the bottom of my little rocking horse, and then I'm going to adhere that to the snow. So that way they become one piece. And I was trying to get him, and I ended up having to move the snow globe so I could get him positioned where I wanted him to be. And then I think he's looking super cute. I love the little snow falling in the background. And if I was making a shaker, this is the point in which I would add the little shaker bits, not large bits because I didn't use foam tape, but you could put some little glitters or some small sequins in there that weren't a lot of bulk. You could for sure do that. I chose not to, but you definitely could. So here I'm just adding more of my glue, and then I'm going to glue this to my background that has the paste on it, including my little snow scene here down at the bottom, like my little snow drift. So I'm going to glue that there. I will tell you that I did have to hold it for a second to get it to adhere, and I have, this is a true story. Like when I see the weights that other people use in card making videos, I'm like, why? Why do you use those? I don't understand. This is a situation where a weight would have fact been helpful to just set that on top of there. Usually I just stack up my Misties and let them sit there. But this is the portion I was talking about. You're going to think I'm out of my mind. I'm cutting out the background. Yes, I know I did the whole background. I thought that that's how I was going to use it, and then I chose not to. So I glued it there, I trimmed it out, and now I have a piece of cranberry cardstock that I am going to use as my card front. And so now that this is all trimmed out, I will glue this to my base. and then I will work on my sentiment. So I'm loving the way that this looks. I think that it looks like genuinely like a little snow globe, all the little snow falling down. I think it's super adorable. And then this particular set, I can't remember what it's called. Oh, I'll have to look it up. I'm sorry. But it has this die that you can get with the bundle that cuts out all of these sentiments from this tree, which is so cool because it gives you like a ton of sentiments right out the gate. Like you could just set them in a little cup on your desk, and as you're making your Christmas cards, just pick them out as you needed them, which I think is awesome. Alternatively, you could just use the die to cut strips of paper that were all the same size, which I also think is super cool. I'm going to use one of the sentiments, the one that says "Let It Snow," and so I treated it with my anti-statics tool. I'm stamped it in the embossing ink from Hero Arts, and then I am using the white detail embossing powder to sprinkle that on so that I will have a white sentiment on black. The reason that I chose black is because I felt like it would look like a little I don't want to say name tag, but look like a little label, that they have on the snow globes. So here, in order to make sure that my snow globe is not floating, I am adding a little bit of a shadow underneath using some warm gray markers. You could use cool if you wanted. Red is a warm color. That's why I chose the warm ones. And so I just gave this a little bit of a shadow underneath it so he doesn't look like it's floating. And then I am going to glue my sentiment right there to the center, almost like it's the title of the snow globe, the Let It Snow. And then that was the last thing that I did to the card. So I hope that this helps you understand a little bit more how mixed media items can maybe be used in your repertoire, like a little bit more than maybe what you thought that they could, because some of those things really do give super cool results, but can also be incorporated in a more clean and simple style. So that is it for me. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.